everybody, this is Audra coming at you from Studio Blue. We're going to be doing our abs, thighs, glutes class today. And even though I love props, we're going to be doing it prop free. You just need your own bodies. If anything doesn't feel right, I don't want you to do it. Always listen to what your body is telling you first. If you need a break, take one. If something doesn't feel right, opt out. You have permission to opt out of anything that we do today. We're going to actually start on our back, knees bent, feet flat, and just relax for a second, which can actually be the hardest part of this. So we're just gonna take a moment to inhale and exhale, just inhaling in through your nose, and then exhaling through your mouth. And just start to take stock, right? Just start to notice little things that your body is telling you. If you notice that as you're breathing, your shoulders are elevating, you might be just breathing into your shoulders, which unfortunately is a sign of stress breathing. So I'll encourage you to start taking your breath a little bit lower. If you notice that you're holding tension in your hips or your thighs or your lower back, I'd like you to envision filling that area up like an overly inflated balloon. And then exhale, allow that balloon to kind of deflate and get floppy. Give me a couple more here, just in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then start noticing if you can fill your whole rib cage at once, right? So starting from the back, side, and front. And then on your next exhale, we're just gonna draw our hip bones together. So of course that's not literally, but as you inhale, relax, and then exhale, envision your hip bones just drawing together. And then one more. And with your hip bones drawing together, imagine you have a hook below your belly button, drawing in and up, trying to activate your lower abdominals. And then inhale. And exhale. Hip bones, hook, and then gently press your sacrum down into the floor. See if you can get a little bit more core activation. Last one like this. It's a really small, subtle move. And now we're going to actually move our pelvis. So as you exhale, pull your hip bones toward your face, lengthening through the front of your thigh, coming into your imprinted position or posteriorly tilted pelvis. And then rock your pelvis back to neutral. Neutral is where your hip bones and pubic bone are on the same plane. Exhale, come into your imprint, and then rock back to neutral. If you envision your pelvis like a dinner plate with a marble in the center, you want to roll the marble towards your face, and then you want to roll the marble just back to the center of your plate. And now you're going to hold your imprint. See if you can engage your abs a little bit more to deepen your imprint. It's like you have a little sandbag on your ribs, and then you peel your spine up one bone at a time, coming into your first bridge. Keep in mind, first one never counts. Inhale here. Exhale, roll it down, melting through your throat, melt through your breastbone, melt through your ribs, melt through your lower back until you come into that neutral pelvis. Just a couple more. We're just warming up our spine here. Engage the abs, initiate the movement as much as possible from your abs, and then let the glutes layer on. Inhale at the top, and then exhale, melt and roll down. Now, if you're not sure if your glutes are firing evenly, touch your buns. It's okay. It's just biofeedback, right? So imprint, start the movement, notice when the glutes fire, see if you can time it equally from side to side. and melt and roll. And last one, we're gonna hold at the top of your bridge. So think about pulling your hip bones toward your face, sinking your ribs down, allowing your glutes to fire. Hold, think about your heels dragging towards you, knees going away from you. So you're creating one long line from your knees to your ribs. Now squeeze your glutes a little bit more, allowing your pubic bone to be higher than your hip bones, right? If you need to, use your hands here. Now hip hinge down, we're not pasting down, we're hip hinging, and then squeeze, lift, find the bridge. So now our abs are just stabilizing us instead of mobilizing us. Now it's our glutes that are doing the mobilization. So think about them high-fiving each other. Still think about your heels dragging towards you. Still think about your ribs drawing in and down towards your belly button. We have 2 more. And last one, hold it up. Making sure that you can stay nice and connected like you've got an airplane seatbelt on. Float one leg to tabletop. Inhale, step it down, toe, ball, heel, press down into the floor, float your other leg to tabletop. Step it down. If you start to feel your back, instead of your glutes, come down. That's okay. We don't want you to brace through your erectors. They should just be there to stabilize you. The glutes should be active, trying not to let the pelvis swivel. I know hula dancing looks really fun, but we're trying to stabilize here instead of mobilize the lumbar. We're mobilizing the hip joint though. 2 more. Last one, come down, melt through your throat, breastbone, ribs, allowing your tailbone to make contact with the mat. Interlace your hands behind your head. They're gonna be a hammock shape. And if our elbows are too far wide, it's actually going to cause us to try to arch. So bring your elbows in your periphery, shoulders down. Think about the hip bones first, hook second, and then sink your ribs down to the floor as you look towards your knees. Now, as you come down, think about lengthening all the way through the crown of your head. We're easy breezy, right? We're starting simple. Sink the ribs down. So you're leveraging through your abs and not through your neck. Give me a couple more. And really what I mean by that is if the ribs stay up, you have nowhere to go except with your neck. So they have to sink, they have to be heavy. Last one, hold this one up. Take your hands around your thighs. Feel free to use your biceps here to come up just a little bit higher. Now sweep your arms up, see if you can maintain this position, interlace your hands and roll down. Now, if you cannot maintain that position without pain in your lower back or your neck, don't go up as high. Listen to your body. Interlace and lower down. Now, even though we will probably eventually come into an imprinted position here, if you go up really high, I want you to initiate the move in a neutral pelvis, right? If you initiated an imprint, right, you don't really have very far to go. Up. Last one, sinking the ribs down, hands come forward, lift up. Now we hold. So hands come behind the head. Float one leg to tabletop. Step it down, toe, ball, heel, press your foot into the floor to spring that other leg up. Think about the knee having a helium balloon around it, and the thigh bone just sinks in the socket. Good. Just give me a couple more here. Still allowing the front of your abs to sink down. And now take your opposite hand, wrap it towards that knee. Using your lat and serratus, press into the leg, but using your glute, press into your hand. And then switch sides. So it might cause a little bit more rotation, which is fine, but we're not trying to overly rotate. We're just trying to close your kinetic chain a little bit. Good. And then of course, if you want, you can switch your legs mid-air here and just barely tap and tap. We have 3 more, 3, and 2 more sets. Still trying to barely let those shoulder blades hover off the floor if you can do it without cranking through your neck. Come back to center, toes come down, head comes down. Reconnect with your abdominals, right? So think about those hip bones coming together, that hook below your belly button, slide your ribs down to the floor, lift, looking at your knees. Now lift your heels only. And now if you can't do this without doing 90s hip hop dance moves, stick with 1 foot at a time. Otherwise, flex 1 foot, inhale, exhale, flex the other foot, and just hold for a second. If you need to, tap 1 or both toes down. Good. Otherwise, inhale, tap, exhale, float. Squeezing those inner thighs together. Let your glutes help stabilize you here too, right? If you're just feeling this in your hip flexors, they might be trying to do all the work, and in which case I would say just do 1 at a time. We have 2 more here, and I don't know about you, but even though this move doesn't look like much, I find it so challenging. And then bring the toes down, slide 1 foot away from you. Think about pushing that foot so far away that it has no other option than to lift, barely hovering off the floor, and then you can bring yourself down. Opposite hand goes out to the side. Push that foot away and then rotate as it comes up. And then allow yourself to push the foot away from you. Good. And then you can also flex the foot if you want to. Now, if you don't have the hamstring flexibility to be able to do this with the straight leg, bend your knee. It's okay. As you lower, don't think about letting the leg just go to the floor. Think about it pushing towards the opposite wall. And find where your ribs want to go here. We're trying to lift and then just find pure rotation as opposed to side bending, right? So if you have your spine as a bendy straw, you want to rotate, but you don't want to side bend. So both sides of your straw are really long. Come back to center, place that hand behind your head. Good. Bend the knee, rotate towards it, extend it out. Now this might be where you are today. Great. Otherwise, float your other leg to tabletop, okay? Extend that leg, hold, and then rotate. Extend the leg, push it away from you, and bend. So if you think about kind of leveraging yourself up from the force of that foot, right? It's like a laser beam or, I don't know, an arrow shooting to the wall. 2 more. If your head gets tired or your neck gets tired, of course, put your head down. Last 1, come back to center. That foot comes down, other foot slides out. Head comes down. Now, if your hip bones decided to try to chase your foot, lengthen through them so we're in a neutral position. Opposite hand comes out to the side. Push that foot away from you. Push it so far away it has no other option than to lift. And then when you are ready, we add that rotation. And then push. If your ribs try to flare and your foot tries to drop, don't worry about range as much, right? It's about connection. So you can always do this with the bent leg, no problem. Think about having that airplane seatbelt on. Those things are thick. You can't get out of it very easily, right? Good. Give me just a few more here. Pushing that foot away. 3. How's everybody doing? 2. Last 1. come back to center, bend the leg. Now rotate towards it, come back, push it away. And then bend and rotate. Good. Still trying to sink the belly button down, trying to keep both hips nice and stable as opposed to letting them wobble. Now, if you want, you can be here. Otherwise, other leg comes up. We push the foot away, hold, and then bend and rotate. So this is a variation of crisscross, and it's a variation of single leg stretch. I've combined them because it's harder to use momentum here when you just come back to center. And once again, you can always put the foot down. You're not committed to it. Good. 3. And rotate. 2 more. Anybody else's abs just starting to get a little bit on fire? All right. Last 1. Head comes down, hug your knees toward your chest. And now let your knees be heavy, heavy, heavy. Sink your belly button through your spine, hollowing out through the front of your body. And you can use your hands here for this first one. Just tuck your tailbone towards your face, allowing your hips to lift slightly, and then back. It doesn't have to be a huge movement. Once again, it's not about range, it's about engagement. Good. Now you're welcome to stay here using your hands as a way to help you find that rock. Otherwise, you can bring your hands down to the floor. Now, if you have tight pecs and your shoulders like to really internally rotate, either have your palms open towards the sky. It will inhibit some of your range, or your palms can face each other so your triceps can help you, right? They can try to be useful. Now, this is a great variation, and you can stick with this. If you'd like a little bit more challenge, we're going to take our hands behind our head, elbows in our periphery, lift the chest, curl, hold, and then come back. So think about sinking the ribs down, you curl, you can even wrap your elbows towards your knees, hold, and then back. The cool thing about this is if you're using momentum, it is much harder to hold. So if you go, oh, why can't I hold this? Because you were accidentally using momentum. Once again, don't worry about range. We have 2 more. Last one, hold, 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 extend your legs and just let them be heavy and then come back. And then let your feet be heavy. And notice how it's a little bit easier almost to initiate that move. If all of a sudden it is way too intense because your hamstrings are tight, bend the knees. It's fine. We have 3 more. And 2. Last one. Bend the knees, head comes down. Hands can come out to a T or goalpost position, but shoulders relaxing down. Softening the ribs, we're just gonna let one hip sink down. Think about the other knee reaching out farther. Now draw that rib back using that internal oblique, hold, and then other side. So if you think about your hips being like a doorknob, that can be helpful, right? Because your spine isn't going everywhere. It's just the hip rotating around the spine. And of course, if you'd like more challenge, we've got that. So take your hips up and over, hold. If you'd like more challenge, extend the legs. If your shoulder came up or you arched, sink it back down, come back to center, up and over, other side. Use that connectivity to your abs to stabilize you. And of course, you don't have to extend your legs. They can stay absolutely still and stable. We have a couple more here. Last set. And extend and back and down. Last one. Extend, back, down. Now hands behind your thighs. Press your thighs into your hands and just lift. Now see where your pelvis is, hopefully in neutral. Now sink your ribs down more and imprint your spine and see if it helps you lift up. We're gonna reach our feet away from us a little bit for roll-ups. If you need a prop for roll-ups, no problem. So a little pad underneath your back works great, but I'm also gonna show you a couple variations. So reach forward, shoulders relaxing down your back. Hug your abs in, and then envision your ribs drawing back. It's as if somebody you really like is giving you a hug. Now think about that pelvis rolling like a wheel as you roll all the way down, keeping those ribs connected. Now inhale, exhale, roll up. Now, if that is real hard and you have to fling, instead of using momentum, slide one leg, inhale, exhale, come back up. If that's still too tricky, guess what? Bring both legs. No problem. We have a couple more here. Keeping those ribs nice and closed. Inhale, exhale, reach for your feet. And of course, remember, everybody's proportions are different, right? Depending on where your weight is, or depending on where your strength or your flexibility is, makes a huge difference. All right, everybody ready for some fun? Just me then? Okay, so bend one knee. Curl and roll down. And then inhale. Try not to move your knee too much. As you come in, you're creating a little tiny nugget though. So scooping your belly button and then roll down. And then curl up. Two more on this side. Roll down. If you can't keep this leg down, use the leg to help you, okay? If it's still too tricky, use both legs. And then we get to reverse. So extend the leg, bend, and curl for it. So you just find that nugget shape before you roll down. And then inhale, exhale. It's okay to walk up that leg. There's even a Pilates move called climb a tree, where that's basically what you do. So you are always welcome to climb up that leg if you want. We have a couple more here. Curl, sinking the ribs back and down. Last one. Good, and bring it together. Go ahead, scoot towards the front of your mat. Feet together, knees apart. Give yourself a gentle little relaxation over your legs for a second. And we're going to bring our feet to the floor. Now, if you need a little bit of support, feel free to grab a ball or a pillow, or just kind of use the couch. Hands on your shins, sit up nice and tall without thrusting your ribs forward. So think about sinking it back. Curl your tailbone towards your face and just roll back until your hands start to touch your knees. And then fold over your ribs and restack. Using your biceps, your lats, and your serratus to help you sit up nice and tall. And then we curl, straightening those arms, sliding it back, and then fold and come up. Now, once again, everyone's proportions are different. So I'm actually gonna keep my hands back here so I can go just a little bit farther and fold and come up. So think about rocking behind your tailbone and then dive forward over your ribs and come up. Now we get to hold. So we're gonna scoop, we're gonna roll behind the tailbone. Float one leg up. Float your other leg up. And just see where you are. If all of a sudden you're doing 90s hip hop dance moves, think about curling back just a little bit more. Now let go with one arm. Let go with the other arm. Bring them forward, shoulders down. You can always put your hands on your shins, and we're gonna take one arm out to the side and back, other arm out to the side. Could you do this with your feet down? Yes, always, feel free. Notice how the body wants to respond to that arm going to the side, right? We have 2 more here. Keep curling your tailbone towards your face. And then bring your arms overhead. And then you can extend your legs. And then bend. Shoulders down. Reconnect. If you go, nope, that's not for me today, that's fine. Shoulders down. Keep the legs together. Arms can come up. If that still doesn't work for you, hey, guess what? Feet down. That's okay. We're just trying to find that connection between your abs and your arms, right? So this is great. This is also great. And this is just extra credit, right? We have 2 more here. Boom. Last one. Bend the knees. Relax over your legs. Now, if for any reason you're like, ooh, hip flexors, take a second to stretch them out. It's fine. Otherwise, we're coming into a quadruped position. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. I'm coming off of my mat here. Do whatever feels fine for your wrists, including coming onto your forearms. So first, sink your ribs down in between your hands just a little bit. Find that little engagement of your abs, that hook, and you're going to tuck your tailbone under. Imagine you have a suction cup on your lower back, and it is suction cupping your back to the sky. Now slide one foot out, squeeze your glutes. Other foot comes to meet it. Hold. Just feel where is working, right? Hopefully it's abs. But if you're just like, man, I only feel my shoulders, come down, reset, right? The shoulders have to work, but the abs and glutes should also be active. Think about those legs as laser beams. Now bend one knee and then reach it back behind you. Other side. Allowing that thigh to fold freely in the socket. And if anything doesn't feel good, don't do it, right? You could be here. Instead, if that works for you, okay? We have 2 more. Last set. Knees down. Press yourselves into a gentle rest position, opening your armpits. Feel free to roll your wrists out. Now coming onto forearms, we're coming back into a plank. Now, if you prefer to plank on your hands, it's fine. Planking on your hands in some ways is a little bit easier. So if your hips like to drop, bring them to the sky, widen your feet just a little bit. Allow one hip to sink down and back. Other side. It's not a huge move, and it shouldn't be through our shoulders. It's a little rotation through our hips, right? It's very similar to what we did earlier when we were on our back with our knees bent. We have 3. If your mat is really stretchy, bring your feet to the ground. 2. Last set. Knees come down. Press yourselves into a rest position, allowing those armpits to open. Now, if it's uncomfortable to do this on hands and knees, you can always come to standing, okay? We're going to be on our forearms, lengthening through the crown of your head. If your head wants to drop, it's okay to use your hands to help it. So press your leg out away from you. Find those abs, just squeeze your butt. That's it. Now squeeze your glutes so much that maybe that foot pushes away from you. Once again, it's not about height, it's about engagement. And then relax halfway. And then squeeze and push the foot away from you. And then halfway. And press and reach. Now if you're like, man, Audra, I love these, but I really prefer the mini band. That's great. If you have a mini band, please feel free to use it. Now is your time to shine. But we're still gonna work. The mini band is just an added bonus, right? We have a couple more here. Once again, it's not about moving the foot. It's about squeezing that glute enough that the foot moves. We have 2 more. And hold. Still connecting in with your abdominals. Now just tiny little squeezes, right? I hesitate to say pulse because I don't want it to be about the foot. It's just about the cheeks. High-fiving, 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 high-fiving. We have a bunch more. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to give you false hope about it. But now we have a few more. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, hold, tiny circles. So let the thigh bones stir in the socket. And if you notice that you're sinking into one side, take a second, reconnect with those abdominals. And that side glute of that stabilizing leg is probably working. And then other direction, or at very least, it should be working, right? So if you don't feel it and you just feel the front of your hip, move your body a little bit until you feel the glute, right? It might be that you're too far forward and need to be back. It might be that you're too far back and need to be forward. We have 3, 2, 1. Now tap the toe out to the outside of your mat and then squeeze and bring it back to center. And then tap to the outside of the mat and then squeeze and bring it back to center. And again, and then squeeze and push the foot and tap and squeeze and push. You're doing great, you guys. And push the foot away. You are all amazing. You have the heart of a champion. We have 5 more like this. 5. Think about that leg extending from your ribs. 4. The glute is engaging. It's just one line tracing. If your shoulders start to get tired, take a break. We have 3 and 2. Last one like this. Tap it out. Now instead of bringing it back to center, just lift it straight up where it is and tap. Squeeze, lifting it up and tap. Good. Give me a few more here. If you're like, whew, this is a lot, take a break, right? Breaks are great. That is why there is alliteration, right? Give me a few more, unless you can't, and in which case, give me a break, and then join me when you can. We have 5, 4, 3, we're almost there. And by there, I mean to some other delightful destination. 2, last one, we hold, tiny squeezes, boom, 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 boom. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, bend your knees, press yourselves into a gentle rest position. Hopefully, your glutes were saying some things to you. Come back to center. Reconnect your abs, slide your other foot out. And just squeeze. And bring it back. And just squeeze the glute. And allow the thigh bone to just fold in the socket, right? So we did some hip hinging earlier, right? And it's kind of the same thing. The glute squeezes and then you hip hinge on the way down. Now, if you can, think about squeezing the glute and hold, and then keep it about 20%, so it's still working. And then you push it away from you. Still allowing it to connect in at the ribs, still finding your abs, still reaching your ears away from you. And if you find yourself just sinking into your shoulders, take a second. You can always, always, always put your head on a pillow. You can always take a break. You can always do this standing. We have a couple more. And then we get to hold. And we get to do tiny squeezes. So itty bitty baby squeezes. So basically squeeze and then squeeze harder and then just go back to the first squeeze, right? So it's less about letting it go at all and more about just contracting and then a little bit more. And we have 5 and we have 4 and we have 3. Hopefully everybody's doing all right. And 2 And last one, and little squeezes. Good. Our glutes are really important, you guys. That's one reason I love working them so much, is they help us stand, they help us walk, they help support our back, and none of it has to do with how they look in pants, right? They're just important muscles. We have just a few more, 5 and 4. Once again, stirring that thigh bone in the socket, 3 and 2. Reverse directions. Good. Little squeezes. And we have 5, 4. Keep it slow, keep it controlled. 3. Oh my gosh, anybody else just like on fire with that stabilizing leg? 2. Last one, and we tap it out to the side. And then squeeze, bring it back to center. Allow it to fold, and then squeeze, bring it back to center. And then out, squeeze, bring it back to center. You're so close. You're so close to getting a break. Good. From this leg. Give me just a few more here. Once again, if you need a break, take one. Otherwise, squeeze the glute rather than lifting the foot. 2. Last 1. Hold it out to the side. Squeeze and tap. So now the foot stays basically tracing one line, right? So instead of it coming back to center, it's just lifting where it is, lowering down. Squeezing, lowering. Give me a few more. Squeeze, lower. Good. And we have 5 and 5 and 4. Still lengthening through the crown of your head, still trying to hug your abs up and in, just so you're not moving through your pelvis here. Hip bones facing the same direction like car headlights. 2, and last 1. Knees bent. Press yourselves into a rest position. Take your hands up and over to one side. Take the hand that's same side, wrap it around the opposite side hand, and give yourself a little stretch. And then other direction. So same side, wrapped around opposite side. So I have good news and bad news. We're done with those, but we're not done with glutes. We're actually going to come onto our side. So you can be here, or if this doesn't feel great on your neck, you can use a little pillow. I just recommend maybe not doing slumber party arm. Now hover your ribs off the mat. You can't really see mine because I've got a dark shirt, but I am hovering a little bit, like I could slide a sheet of paper under here. Take your top hand, lengthen that hip away from you, and then make sure your ribs are nice and connected, but without your tailbone tucking. So if you were aligned with the wall, your back from your head to your tail feathers should mostly line up with the wall. Now lift your heels. So we're starting in an internal rotation. Think about the glute helping spiral that thigh bone and then come back down. So it's not about getting the knee to the sky. If you have that much hip motion, that's great. But if not, that's okay too. Think more about it aiming forward and up rather than just up. And if you need to put your feet down, that is okay. Trying not to just drop the leg, right? We're squeezing so the leg is moving concentrically. We're holding for a second so it's working isometrically. And then we are eccentrically decelerating our movement on the way down. We have 3 more. And 2. Last 1. Hold. Tiny little squeezes. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2 more. Last one, knee comes down, feet come down, smack that hip out a little bit, and then reach that foot away from you. Now try to push it even farther away so that hip lengthens, and then make sure you're not just hanging out in the ribs, you're hovering. So it's as if we're standing up nice and straight. Now relax the foot, paintbrush it up the side of the wall, and then squeegee it down. Now, if you start leveraging from your ribs, you'll be able to get up higher, but you won't feel the work as much. So we're trying to leverage from our thigh bone as opposed to our ribs. So think about just dragging a paintbrush up the wall, and then inner thighs, drag the paintbrush up the wall, squeeze for the inner thighs on the way down. We have 5, 4 more. Almost there. Hopefully your glutes are doing okay. I think mine are gonna fall off. Last one, like this. Now bring it up, bring it part of the way down, tiny little circles. Think about that heel dragging back. We have 5, and 5, and 4, right? So even though the circles are circles, I want us to focus on the hip extension. Now, if you're lacking range of motion in the hip extension, you might find that you're doing lumbar extension. So just keep it a little bit smaller. 3, 2, 1. Bend that knee forward, slide the other foot back. Now, if this is uncomfortable on your hip, rock back just a little bit. Otherwise, we just squeeze, finding that inner thigh, almost press out through the heel, hold, and tiny little squeezes here. So it's just a little lift, little lift. So if you tend to grip through your upper inner thighs, think about the part that's moving being closer to the knee and still trying to allow some space between your ribs. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold, 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 bring it down, bend both knees. Go ahead and rotate and rock so you're just getting a gentle little stretch, and then come back to center. All right, so we're gonna build. So first, just bring your hand down, okay? It's going to help you. Other hand is going to lead the charge. So you're just gonna straighten your arms, reach, and look toward your feet, okay? And then slide your hand down. Now lead the charge, lift, and you can push, and then back. So we're trying to find oblique here just a little bit. If you're like, ooh, that's hard, use your elbow, and don't go down as far, right? So you just lift the ribs, and then let them sink this way. Don't be afraid to look at your hand. It can help you find that internal oblique a little bit more. So if you're just looking at me the whole time, while I'm happy to see you, it might cause more QL engagement. So look at your hand. 2 more. Last one. Come on down. You can either be on your hand or your forearm. I'm gonna start with forearm, coming into a little knee plank. And then you can tap the hips down and then come back up. And this might be where you are today. If you'd like a little bit more, you can extend the leg and then lift, and then down and lift. If you'd like even more, you can have both feet extended. Trying not to sink into the shoulder, but lift from the serratus, the lat, the obliques, that bottom glute, that top inner thigh, and willpower. If you'd like even more, you can reach that arm overhead. We have 3, and press and reach 2, and press and reach 1. Hold and reach even farther. Come on down, slide your knees in. You can be here, or if internal rotation feels bad, cross them crisscross applesauce style. And we're just getting a little stretch of the side body. And then guess what? Wonderful news. Other side, we're gonna come into our clamshell position. So once again, your arm can be here, it can be bent. I just don't want you cranking through your neck. Nice flat back. So think about spreading your tail feathers wide just a little bit, but without overarching, right? So soften the ribs, hug your abs up and in. Tail feathers are spread wide. Go ahead, lift your heels and use that glute to spiral the thigh bone in the socket. Now the good news is we had a break in between our glute work. So this glute is fresh, it's excited, hopefully it's not feeling bad, and hopefully your other side had a moment to kind of relax as well. If you notice that as you're moving, you're starting to rock, rein it in. You can even put your hand behind you just to see where you are. You can put your hand in front of you to make sure that your ribs are engaged. I just started sinking in, so slide your hand underneath you to see if you could slide a sheet of paper. Good. We're almost there. We have 5. Trying to allow the thigh bone to slide up the socket. 2. And by 2, I mean as well. 3. Now I mean 2 in numbers. Last one, hold, tiny squeezes, squeeze, squeeze. Once again, it should be from the glute, not the front of the thigh. So if you're like, oh, I can't really find it, put your hand on the inside to offer support and still just squeeze that glute. Good. Letting the thigh bone move freely in the socket. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, bring it down. Both legs come down, slide that foot away from you. Go ahead, push the foot away, push the hip away. Make sure you're not sinking into the ribs, but you're hovering up, and then paintbrush the foot up, and then squeegee it down. Little paintbrush up, and little squeegee down. So once again, if you're like, oh, why does my hand keep moving? Because you're just accidentally leveraging through your ribs, right? It's your body's way of trying to get out of some of this intense glute activation. So if you need a break, guess what? Take one. If you don't, that's fine too. We have 4. Still lifting those ribs, still hugging your abs up and in. You're so close. 3. And 2. Bring it up, bring it part of the way down, little circles focusing on driving the heel back, right? So that glute max is trying to really be your prime mover here. If you're moving from your back, it's probably going to be your erector spinae and hamstrings. And those are your helper muscles. Should they be strong? Yes. Should they be doing all the work? No. We have 5. So just check in if you only feel hamstring or only feel back. See if you can encourage your glutes to work just a little bit more. You can tell them, wake up there, buddy. I need you. 2. Last 1. Good, we're gonna bring that leg forward. Extend that other leg out. Now think about that heel pushing away and then bring it in. Now I know it really wants to hike up on this side, right? So slide that hip down. You can even use this top knee as an anchor point to help control the movement of your hips, right? Now, does it have to be perfect? No, of course not, right? Of course we're looking for stability, but I'd rather you have 80% stability without bringing excess tension into your body rather than like 100% stability, but also like 100% tension, right? Okay. Pressing that heel away. We have just a few more. 3 and 2. And last one, and we hold tiny little one. Boom, boom. Almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend your knees. Go ahead, suction cup that hand to the floor to start. Other hand is how you kind of leverage up, right? So start just by looking. And then if you need to adjust, it's fine, right? And once again, you can always be here, no problem. Otherwise, you can bring that arm up, press that other hand into the floor. If you have a slidey bit of carpet, it's gonna be easier, right? We have just a few more here. Much harder for me on this side, and that's okay. Just notice how your body feels from side to side. And look at the hand as opposed to me, right? Because we don't want to feel it back here as much as forward. If you need a break, take one. Otherwise, we have 3. And we have 2. And we have 1. And we hold, and then come to the elbow, right? For our knee plank. So first, just come up, and then back down. And this might be where you are today. That's fine. If you have any shoulder stability issues, it's okay to keep it small. If you'd like a little bit more, reach that leg out. Good. If you want even more, reach that other leggy out. Good. If you just want to hold your full side plank without lowering the hips, that's fine too. We have just a few more. Good. And 3, and 2. Last one, hold, and then reach a little higher. If you need to, bring that knee down, reach, 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 coming into your little mermaid, right? So once again, you can be an internal rotation. If that feels bad, bring the leg across. We're just gonna go into a little side bend. You're welcome to even take that arm and reach it away for a couple more breaths. All right, coming back onto all fours. First, we're just going to find a little bit of side to side and a little circle. Just letting your back relax. And then the other direction, little circle. Nice relaxing move, right? It's not often we get to do this. So now, slide one foot back, other foot stays down, and then we curl, look down at our knee. And then maybe hover that like knee off the floor. And then curl, look down. And then come back. If you want, of course, you can lift the foot. If you don't want to lift the foot, you don't have to. We have 4 and 3. Don't forget about your abs. Don't just press from the arms. Curl your tailbone toward your face. And 2. Last one. Other side. So let it fold in. Don't be afraid to keep that foot down. That's fine. If your elbows start coming together, spiral them a little bit, but try not to lock out. And we push and we look. And we hover. And we lift. Once again, creating that tiny little nugget shape, right? And out. And curl. And out. Notice how it feels different from side to side. Good. Give me 3 more. And 2. And last 1. Good. Bring your knees down. Roll your wrists out. We're coming into a forearm plank. Widen your feet. And we rock to one side. So once again, you can always be here, okay? Otherwise, don't move your feet on top of each other because we're just gonna slowly go from side to side, right? Think about your body being in as one piece as possible, billowing up as you rotate down. We have 3, and down. And if you need to be on your knees, It looks like this. Last set, making sure that your hand isn't trying to rotate you back, but keeping it reaching up towards the sky. Knees down, press yourselves into your rest position. Rolling out your wrists. Good. Now go ahead, drag your elbows back, shoulder blades drawing down your back. We're going to try to access our lower trapezius and our rhomboids just a little bit. So think about your shoulder blades drawing down into your back pockets. And then start to straighten your arms just a little bit, trying to find the muscles that are right below and in between the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. And then draw yourself down. Think about the shoulder blades coming into your back pockets. And then you start to straighten the arms. If you're looking up, nod your chin a little. No hyperextension through your neck, please. We have 3. 2 more. Last one. Try to find that nice engagement of the shoulder blades. And now allow the shoulder blade to move as the arm moves. So as the hand comes up, the shoulder blade should draw down and around your back, right? So it goes down and around and down and around. If it doesn't, chances are your shoulder is just going up into your ear and it's probably not going to feel the best. So think about down and around, opening the armpit. And it doesn't have to be a huge move, right? If you don't have the extensibility of tissue to get your arm fully in line with your ears, do what you can. We have 2 more. Last one. Good. We're going to go ahead, come back onto our hips, and you can either do roll-ups again, or we're going to do a fun way to get into teaser. All right, so we already did some teaser variations, but we're going to see if we can get like a really good engagement. So we've pushed our feet away from us. We've rounded, okay? We've engaged our inner thighs. We've engaged our glutes. Keep them active. Start to roll back. So you're dialing your hip bones back. Now just hold. If you feel your tailbone in the ground, I need you to curl a little bit more. Now pushing your feet away from you. Take your hands, take them behind you, and notice how your feet want to prop up. And then bring it down. We're just going to do one more. These are just for fun. Roll, hold, take the hands away. Notice how the feet want to just pop up. And then last one, we actually have the option. Curl, up, hold, bring one arm up, other arm up. And you can either hold this or roll all the way down. Inhale, roll all the way up. 2 more. Push away. Last one, creating that tiny nugget shape. Come all the way up. Bend your knees, feet together. Relax over your legs. It was so great to see you guys. I can't believe our hour is up already. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Audra. If you don't remember, I hope to see you all very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And we're coming at you every day. So check Mind Body, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.